Let's talk about a filmmaker whose work is, well, not for the faint of heart. We're diving into the world of Giannis Economides, a director who makes films that are loud, aggressive, and honestly, pretty tough to watch. But stick with me here, because hidden inside all that brutality is a shockingly powerful look at the world we live in.
So the best way to get a feel for Economides is just to listen, seriously. His films are practically defined by their sound, this constant, relentless barrage of human noise. It really sets the stage for everything else.
You've got critics describing his characters as wasting all their energy on just this, screaming and complaining. And you have to understand, this isn't just some background chatter. Oh no. It is the very fabric of his world. A world built from the ground up on frustration and just pure verbal aggression. And here's what all that tension actually looks like. This shot is from his very first movie, Matchbox. It's just so sweaty and claustrophobic, right? The camera gets in so close you can almost feel the heat coming off the screen. This is a total pressure cooker, where every single conversation is an argument, and every argument feels like it's just seconds away from exploding. Which, brings us to the big question. If these films are this intense, this abrasive, why on earth have they won so many awards? Why are they being celebrated at huge international festivals? That's the puzzle we're gonna try and piece together right now.
To really get the art, you gotta first understand the artist. So let's meet the man who's orchestrating this very unique and very challenging vision.
Okay, so this is Giannis Economides. He's a Cypriot-born director and a huge figure in modern Greek cinema. And get this, his work is consistently praised at the highest levels. We're talking premieres at festivals like Cannes and Berlin, and he's pulled off a clean sweep of the top prize from the Greek film critics for every single feature film he's made. The point is, he's not some outsider. He's a celebrated master of his craft.
And you might think his films are about a specific political crisis, but listen to what he says. He sees himself as exploring something much more timeless, more universal. In his own words, it's the darkness of the human soul. Things like jealousy, hatred, greed, those are his real subjects.
And the way he explores this darkness is through this really fascinating dynamic. On one side, you have what our source material calls the screaming masses. These are characters who just never stop talking. They're trapped in these endless, profane arguments. But on the other side, almost always, you'll find a silent center, this quiet, stoic guy who just soaks up all the hysteria around him, until suddenly he just snaps in a burst of pent-up violence. It's that dance between nonstop talking and explosive silence that drives his whole drama.
So we have these characters, but where does he put them? Because in his films, the setting is just as important as the people. In fact, it's what creates that pressure cooker in the first place.
His movies are obsessed with the idea of confinement. Look at the left. You've got this stuffy, cluttered apartment from Matchbox. It's a literal pressure cooker. But then, even when the characters get outside, like you see on the right from Knifer, the world is just as suffocating. These bleak industrial landscapes, they don't offer any escape. They're just a bigger cage.
And so, the home, which for most of us is a place of safety, of comfort, it gets totally transformed in his films. It becomes a matchbox, a cage, a prison. It's not a sanctuary. It's the battlefield where the absolute worst parts of human nature get unleashed.
Okay, so now we have the characters, we have the setting, and this brings us to the core idea, the theory that really helps unlock the meaning behind all this screaming and suffering. It's called the iconographic hypothesis.
And the first thing you have to understand is that, his films are full of dysfunctional families. But the real subject, it's something way, way bigger. The family drama is really just a stand-in.
The key is this word right here, oikos. In ancient Greek, oikos wasn't just about family. It meant the entire household, the physical house, the extended family, the whole domestic unit. It's a much bigger concept than our modern idea of the nuclear family. So oikography is basically the mapping of this household.
And here's the big payoff. According to this theory, the toxic household, the noxious oikos in Economides' films isn't just a family drama. It's an allegory. The home becomes a stand-in for the nation itself. The complete breakdown of the private space, the oikos, is a direct mirror of the breakdown of the public space, the polis. All the screaming, the paranoia, the corruption inside those four walls, it's a portrait of an entire society in crisis.
And that explains why his films are so celebrated. They're not just about miserable people. They're holding up this dark, twisted mirror to a national condition. But this is where we hit one final, fascinating paradox.
So, despite all the international awards, despite all the critical praise for his brilliant dissections of Greek society, Economides himself feels like his films have zero real impact back home. In his own words, contemporary Greeks simply don't give a damn.
And that just leaves us with this profound question that goes way beyond this one filmmaker. I mean, if a society's most celebrated artists are creating these powerful warnings about its collapse, but that society isn't even listening, then what's the function of that art? What's its ultimate purpose?
In the end, Economides answers that question with another question. A challenge, really. He argues that in times of crisis, it is precisely the artist's duty to speak up, to make their point, whether anyone is listening or not. Because as he says, if not now, when? And that's a powerful, pretty unsettling thought to end on, one that perfectly captures the urgent, uncompromising spirit of his work.